to join the session General Mills Trailblazing Together, where we will share about how General Mills champions LGBTQ plus belonging. I am Gabby Rodriguez. I am an she, her pronouns. I'm an HR manager supporting our pet segment. And that's right, we don't just have human food, we have pet food. So Blue Buffalo, if you've ever heard of that product, and it's one of my favorites. I have it in my house at all times, not for me, but for my 3 cats, Frankie, Ramona, and Harold. And we are here living it up in the Chicagoland suburbs, up in the northern suburbs. And I see that there are some people who are also from Illinois. We have people coming in from all over the country. I see some people outside of the country, which is amazing. We are so happy that you are here today to talk about General Mills and our LGBTQ plus community here. So we have an exciting agenda here for you today. And so we are going to start off by hearing from Lee Anderson, our keynote speaker, who is the VP of Government and Public Relations here at General Mills. And then we're going to transition into a panelist discussion who are filled with employees who are super passionate and a part of our LGBTQ plus community, again, here at General Mills. Then we'll do some wrap up and tell you how you can join our General Mills family. So without further ado, let's get into it. So our first agenda topic here today is our keynote speaker, which is Lee Anderson. Lee is a leader in and outside of General Mills. He's not only our VP of Government and Public Affairs and Betty's Family Network executive sponsor, but he co-founded and chaired the Minnesota Business Coalition for Racial Equity, served on various boards, including the Public Affairs Council and MARIPEN, and was a founding member of the National Conference of State Legislatures Hunger Partnership. With 25 plus years of government relations experience, he's also active in LGBTQ plus advocacy, founded Project 515, and has received countless awards and recognition for his efforts. Lee has a BA from the University of Minnesota, a JD from William Mitchell College of Law, and a whole lot of passion for the LGBTQ plus community and Betty's family. And so, Lee, before we jump into your amazing background and experiences, Betty's family, let's talk about what Betty's family is. So yeah. You can show us our last slide here. Betty's family, and Lee, I would love to hear your perspective too, but is one of our 7 employee networks here at General Mills. And an employee network, if you're not familiar with what an employee network or an employee resource group is it's a volunteer employee-led group of individuals who are passionate and who are leading diversity, inclusion, and a culture of belonging within their communities. And so Betty's family is our community of LGBTQ plus individuals here. So Lee, really excited to talk about Betty's family with you. And so I want to hear a little bit more about, first introduce yourself, sure. Share about why you chose and continue to choose General Mills and how Betty's family is a part of all of that.
Well, thanks, Gabby, and hello, everyone. It's great to see you all, and I'm loving the chat and seeing where everyone is calling in from. That's fantastic. I live in Minneapolis. I'm dialing in right now from Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm at another meeting and spent a lot of time in Southern California as well. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with everybody and share a little bit about General Mills and what it's like to work here and our leadership on LGBTQ plus issues. So Betty's family. So I don't take credit for the name, but I did work with the people that came up with the name. So I've been with General Mills for 22 years, as of next month, I think. And I, really had the honor and privilege when I joined the company in 2001 and, immediately joined Betty's family because it was an important part of why I came to the company. I not only was I a member, but I was a member with some of the people that had founded the network and had started Betty's Family in the 90s. So I'm really proud that General Mills has had an LGBTQ plus employee network for almost 30 years, over 30 years. It's a really long time. It's very unusual in our settings. And, I will tell you that the name was intentionally chosen. So they wanted to reflect our brands. At the time, Betty Crocker was one of our biggest brands in the company as it was that at that time. So they really liked the idea of that, and they wanted to reflect family. And that's really what our employee networks are. They're in many ways a family. I don't think it's any uh, uh, it's not by accident that two of our employee networks have the word family in their title. Betty's Family, our LGBTQ plus employee network, and La Familia, our Hispanic employee network, because that's really how we think about it. So it's a really interesting story, um, uh, of how that came to be. And I like that they came up with the name, but it's more important kind of who we are and what we stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. And so exactly like you said, our community has been standing strong within General Mills for such a long time, around 30 years, which
Yeah.
not a lot of companies can say, and it's such an important part for so many people. And so, next question,
Yeah.
digging into it, can you speak to General Mills's commitment to the LGBTQ plus community and Betty's Family Network's evolution and growth over the years?
Absolutely. So Betty's Family actually started uh, around a conversation about how to support our LGBTQ plus employees in the 90s. Before marriage equality came to be, one of the first ways that companies could support, in particular, gay and lesbian employees was to offer domestic partner benefits. So recognizing that there were same-sex families and couples among their employees. And General Mills was one of the first companies to do that, to offer domestic partner benefits. So a trailblazing group of LGBTQ plus employees at General Mills in the 90s was seeking that benefit, made the case for it successfully. And as a result, formed the network at the same time because they recognized that there was so much importance in working together. And that was really the start. So I love that the heritage of our employee network is tied to really one of the very first acts that a company took to support LGBTQ plus employees. Growing from that, uh, General Mills has had a long history of supporting the LGBTQ plus network. And in my role in government and public affairs, I am not only a member of the network. By the way, I kind of glossed over like any personal stuff. So my pronouns are he, him. I'm happily married to my husband, William. This year we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. And thank you. And marriage is work. Don't let anyone tell you different. So it takes work to make it work for 25 years, but we're really happy that we have, and happily married. And bring it back to General Mills, the work that we do and the work that I've been able to do in leading government and public affairs and being part of our government and public affairs team for the entire time I've been here has really directly impacted our LGBTQ plus advocacy efforts. So since the early 2000s, General Mills has publicly supported legislation in Congress to provide non-discrimination laws that would be inclusive of sexual orientation and eventually gender identity. We are the only company that has publicly testified before Congress twice in support of that legislation. You have to get asked to do that. And we've been fortunate to be asked twice because I think it says a lot to people that a company headquartered in Minneapolis that represents so many brands that people are familiar with, which Gabby, we haven't even had a chance to talk about, but I hope at some point we can throw up at least a slide that says, we're the company that brings you Cheerios and Nature Valley and Yoplait and Progresso and Pillsbury and lots of other brands that you know and love. We already mentioned Blue Buffalo. I think it means a lot that a company like us would speak out publicly. So we've been supporting that level of federal action for 20 years. We've built on that level of activity. And when the question around marriage equality started to come up, it came up in a really negative way. And I know this personally because in, my home state of Minnesota, the question was, called about how should we be addressing same-sex couples and their treatment under the law. And the first reaction was, let's ban it and let's pass a constitutional amendment to get rid of it. And so as you mentioned, I helped found an organization that advocated for equality for same-sex couples that was named Project 515. We took our name from research that I helped do that showed that there were 515 laws in Minnesota that treated same-sex couples differently under the law. That work eventually led to an effort that became how we got marriage equality in Minnesota, but it was a long road. And one of the stops along that road was in 2012, a constitutional amendment ballot question was put on, before Minnesota voters, and General Mills was the largest company that took a public position on that because it would permanently ban marriage equality. General Mills opposed that, and it was a really important moment. It really helped, I believe, turn the tide of the discussion, the debate, because General Mills is a very well-respected company, and it made people stop and kind of think about it. Since then, we've continued to support marriage equality. We supported a brief before the U.S. Supreme Court when the question was put to them. As you all know, it was the Supreme Court that granted marriage equality across the country. And then just recently, Congress put that decision into federal law and passed the Respect for Marriage Act at the end of 2022. And I'm really proud that General Mills supported that legislation as well. And not only that, but myself and members of my team, we were directly lobbying in support of that effort. And we were one of the few public companies that were actually going out and speaking to members and letting them know that we supported that. So we have a long history of engagement, particularly in the public policy space. That's obviously what I know best, and I'm really proud of that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And it speaks volumes to say that we don't only care about our LGBTQ plus community within General Mills, but we are also not only making public statements, but are making such important actions within our community, even at really high levels with Congress and et cetera, which is super exciting. Yeah. And you touched on it, and your team was also involved, but how does that make you feel? Like how has that impacted you personally and how you show up at work?
Well, you're right. I did touch on it. I said, clearly, I'm very proud, and I'm proud every day to work for General Mills. It is a great place to work for, and we can talk more about the culture and everything. But it's a company that champions belonging and understands the benefit that creating an inclusive environment brings to a workplace and to our communities. And that's why, we take these stands in the community. I should also, take a moment and note that this is a time of great challenge right now in the LGBTQ plus community, particularly in the public policy space. And we're not staying silent there either. General Mills has joined with over 300 other companies that have publicly called out and opposed anti-LGBTQ plus state legislation that has been passing across the country. We're fortunate to be headquartered in Minnesota, which has gone in the other direction and has actually passed very clear legislation designating Minnesota as a refuge state for particularly those that are seeking out gender-affirming care and other protections. And so we're really proud of that, but we're really troubled by the trend that we see, and we're adding our voice to that as well. So I continue to be proud of those actions.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, there are still challenges that our community is facing. And sometimes it feels different depending on where you are, where you live, and what your community looks like. And so here at General Mills, we have employees all around the globe. So I want to hear a little bit more about, what makes General Mills a destination where LGBTQ plus talent can not only feel like they belong and they have a place here, but they can also thrive in their career.
That's a great question, Gabby. And the first thing I'd say is the number one reason that it is such a great place to work, and that I've always come back to, is true for everybody. It's not just LGBTQ plus employees, and that's that we we are we hire really smart people, and we hire really good people, and we all come here to do the right thing, and which is one of our company's core values. And I can count on my hand, you know, the number of times where I've encountered somebody at our company that didn't quite fit. And the reality is they didn't last very long because the rest of us are all committed to the values of the company and to championing belonging in particular. And that's one of the main reasons why, I'm very proud of working here, and that I think we do create such a welcoming environment for LGBTQ plus employees. Is It's part of our core values. We hire people that support that value, and we talk about it. It's not just we want to support belonging or we aspire to belonging. We champion belonging, and we champion it through events just like this, which are not uncommon. We have a voice within our company, and we have a wealth of allies to the LGBTQ plus community, particularly in the last several years, where they've seen attacks on the community, have stepped forward and said, "How can I help?" And I think that's just such a great part of our ethos and how we work, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, you touched on our core values of doing the right thing and fostering and championing our culture of belonging. And I think there are so many people that I've met within Betty's family who have said really, the core of that has started within Betty's family. Of course, they have it in different aspects of their job every day. But even personally, I can speak to like Betty's family helped me come out and helped me have a voice and helped me navigate how I show up every day and how I can use my unique identity, not only to bring awareness and let people know who I am, but also leverage it as a leader and have a voice for other people. And I think that's really, really important.
That's so awesome. I don't know that I knew that, Gabby. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. But I'm not surprised. I mean, in 22 years, I've seen so many people come to the network, get the resources that they need, come out, which is just amazing to watch and witness. I came to the company, I was already out, and so I didn't have that experience, but I love that, and I love the way that we're supporting allies as well. One of the biggest changes I've seen in the last several years, in particular the last few years, is the number of parents that have joined the network, that uh, are having uh, the experience of now they have children that are coming out as either, or anywhere on the spectrum, LGBTQ plus, but in particular, parents of trans children. And I've seen this amazing network of parents of trans kids at General Mills and how they support each other and are there for each other. Again, it comes back to the family in our name. I mean, we really are a family. I mean, we support each other. We celebrate when there's weddings, and we and celebrate when there's promotions and growth, and then we're there for each other when there's tragedies and loss and difficult times. And I've seen that time and time again from Betty's family, and I love that about us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite parts of Betty's family too, of no matter how I'm feeling, I can just show up how I'm showing up. And if that's an amazing day, that's great. And if it's a hard day, that's okay too. And I know that there's always going to be space in the conversation to voice that. And that makes a really big difference on how you feel like you can show up to work every single day.
Yeah. And, it reminds me of one of the aspects that I love about the network that we started over the last few years are something we call connection circles. So, we have a lot of employees, we're all over the country and the world. And we formed what we call connection circles to have smaller groups within Betty's family just find time to connect with each other. And it's been so powerful. I love my connection circle. I love having time just to hear from each other, how it's going, being there to support each other. In some cases, help people through their coming out journey. I love the connection circle. I don't know if you're in one, Gabby, but I love mine.
Yeah, absolutely. I've gotten so much from connection circles, but yeah, absolutely. And so, Lee, that's what I had for you, but I've gotten so much out of this conversation. I always learn something new from you every time I talk to you, which is just incredible. And speaking of connections, we'll go into our next agenda item, but Lee, thank you again so much for coming and speaking to us and telling us about your experiences and Betty's family.
Of course, Gabby. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining, and hope to see you all again soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. So transitioning into our next portion, which is our employee panel. And so all of these individuals are passionate and active members of Betty's family. And so first, we're going to start with introductions. We're going to do a quick spin around. And so, Omar, I'm coming to you first, but we'll do some introductions. Please include your name, pronouns, your role at General Mills, where you're tuning in from, and like Lee mentioned, what is your favorite General Mills product? Omar, to you.
Happy to kick us off. So my name is Omar Sayas. I identify as queer and I use he, they pronouns. I have a chemical engineering background and I do process engineering work in research and development in Minneapolis in one of our technology groups. I'd say my favorite GMI product is Haagen-Dazs internationally. Little fun fact, Haagen-Dazs that's sold in the US is not made by General Mills.
Very true. Very true. Did you mention where you're calling in from?
I'm calling in from Minneapolis. Is where my home base is, and I'm very well involved with Betty's family, pushing initiatives forward that impact our community.
Awesome. Great. Okay, Paige, on to you.
Hello, my name is Paige Crossett. Pronouns she, her. I'm the plant technical manager in our Richmond, Indiana plant, making the Blue Buffalo dog and cat food. So I have an engineering background, but I'm originally from Michigan. My wife and I moved here to Indiana and love it. And then favorite General Mills products of mine is Yellow Box Cheerios, and my dog's is Nudges. So I like to always call out the pet ones too.
Yes, love that. Absolutely. All right, Lizzie.
Hey everybody, my name's Lizzie. I use they, them pronouns, and I work in our sales area working on category management for Kroger. So look at a lot of data all day. Love to see how everyone's shopping. And I am located in Cincinnati, Ohio, born and raised, but also went to school in Indiana. So if anyone wants to chat about that, always willing to. And favorite General Mills product is our Orange Crescent rolls.
Ooh, those are so good. Oh, you're so right. I need to think about something else before I need a snack. Okay, moving on. Stephanie.
Hi, my name's Stephanie Ramos. I use she, her pronouns. Been with the company around 7 years. I'm a senior system engineer here at the Covington plant in Georgia, originally from Puerto Rico, so very proud of that. And my favorite product is Fruit Gushers.
Ooh, love Gushers too. Great choice. Devin.
Hey everyone, my name's Devin Roll. I use he, they pronouns, identify as queer. I'm calling from Central Washington, and I'm a talent solutions consultant, which means that I help people and managers navigate careers within General Mills. Oh, favorite product. We do a ton of outdoor hiking and backpacking, and the banana bread Lara bars make it on every trip of ours.
Ooh, I don't know if I've had the banana bread ones yet. Okay, I'm literally adding that to my grocery list. While I do that, Kaylee.
Yeah, hey everyone. Kaylee Pohlmeyer Hendricks. I use she, her pronouns. A brand experience manager, which means I oversee our marketing communications here at General Mills. I work on our yogurt products, so like Yoplait, Go-Gurt, Ratio, and then I put in the chat, we just launched a Haagen-Dazs yogurt, which is really delicious. I work here in our Minneapolis office. I've been with General Mills for 10 years, and I've worked at headquarters the whole time. My favorite General Mills product, I would say Gushers too, because it was my favorite brand to work on. And the Gushers on the slide, they look really delicious. So I'd have to go with that.
Awesome. Love that. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Let's start off with another quick spin around. And I'm giving you one sentence, which I know is going to be difficult, but one sentence. How would you describe General Mills' culture, or what's your favorite part about it? So we're going to go in the same order. Omar, you're up.
So to me, my favorite part of General Mills culture, I would say, is that it's highly collaborative, and that involvement in diversity and inclusion initiatives is very well supported and highly encouraged for us, and I love that.
Awesome. Paige.
I would say authentic. So Lee hit on, we hire good people and you feel it.
Awesome. Lizzie.
I would say adult playground because I feel like the options are endless and there's always new friends to be made, candidly. So I really love that part about it. Makes me feel young.
I love that. I have not heard that before, but I may steal that. That's incredible and so true. Stephanie.
I will say diverse, very diverse depending on where you're at. We have many locations and the culture on each one is going to be different. For me is sharing my own and learning about the different cultures wherever I go.
Perfect. Devin.
Yeah, I'd say just like community of support. I know that looks different for so many of us, but for the last 3 years, I've been fully remote, and I love living in a place that makes me feel so alive while working for a company that I think is really amazing.
Great. And Keely.
Yeah, I'd say curiosity. I feel like I'm always pushed to learn and grow every single day. I've always said I will leave if I stop learning, and it's been 10 years and I'm still here and I learn something new every day.
Yeah, that's so important. Love that. Totally agree. Okay, well, thank you all for sharing that. And like we heard from Lee, and like we've heard from a lot of you, there's so much to gain from General Mills and from Betty's family. So Lizzie, I'm headed your way, especially knowing that you're earlier in your career and there are so many great companies out there. Sometimes it's hard to choose where you could fit in and really where you want to be. So how did knowing that there's already an established LGBTQ plus employee network and community impact your decision to join General Mills?
I think it was super pivotal. I had interned at another company previously, and they also had an LGBTQ plus network, but I actually interned with General Mills. And during that time, it was COVID. So I was in my teal bedroom as if I was a little kid again. And I was not out to my parents as non-binary. And then I would go close those doors, go to work, and I would be completely out at work. So I felt like Hannah Montana. It was literally the best of both worlds that I could have at that moment. But I think during my internship and getting to connect with our small group circles is really what made the biggest difference for me, knowing that there was going to be a family there. I think of Betty's family as just like this soft place to land, this group that no matter what, no matter how bad of a day you've had, you can ping anybody within the organization and they'd be happy to chat. And I think knowing that I was entering a company as my full authentic self, and that's what made them want me to be there, made all the difference at the end of the day, because I wasn't getting that support at home. And I knew at least 9 to 5, I was going to be getting that support. So that was super pivotal for me when considering other companies and then General Mills.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that experience, unfortunately, isn't unique. You know, like I think there's a lot of us, even on this call, who would say that there are portions of ourselves that we only show to our family or we only show at work, or there's a some kind of combination of both, but maybe not fully in both camps. And so I'm so glad that you found that community here, and we're so happy to have you involved in Betty's family. Okay, Paige, I am coming your way next. And so we've heard even a little bit from Lizzie in the connection circles and, you know, different things that are happening across Betty's family. What events and activities can members and allies, those who support our LGBTQ plus community, get involved in throughout the year? What would that experience look like?
So we have a ton. I might miss one or two, but I'm going to do my best to cover all of them. So connection circles are definitely a big one that we kicked off in the last few years. Outside of that, we really focus on our two marquee events being National Coming Out Day and Pride. But that's not to say we don't have events all year. I mean, we have an event this week for a town hall, and we're developing. So we've got typically once a year where we get together at our headquarters and have a leadership day where we focus on the development of our members. Outside of that, in the events we're having throughout the year, we've got development opportunities. So the town hall this week is focused on members in the trans community and how we can support them. National Coming Out Day, like I mentioned, one of our big marquee ones, we'll have a panel where we go through and just share kind of coming out stories and have several watch parties for those throughout our organization, because we are Minneapolis based, but we obviously have manufacturing and sales offices and other offices throughout the world, really. And then for Pride, our other big one that we focus on. So we've got, we participate in the Minneapolis Pride Parade. This year, I'm super excited that we stepped into participating in more Pride parades throughout the U.S. So actually, Lizzie, Steph, and myself were at the Cincinnati Pride Parade marching for General Mills, and we also were in the Joplin, Missouri one and the Cedar Rapids, Iowa one. And so we show up in those areas. We've raised the Pride flag at our headquarters and then also at several other locations and really just show up, say, hey, you know, we're here, we support those that work for us and those that are trying to ally for either members of their family or others within General Mills.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many things, right? I know that you said it in a very short amount of time, but there are so many things to get involved in. And what I loved that you had mentioned that it's not just within the four walls of General Mills. You know, we are active within our communities, whether it's within Minneapolis or whether it's at a location really anywhere around the world. And I think that's really important because we're not just having the conversation, again, within the four walls, but we're really shouting it to our communities too and how we get involved there as well. Awesome, great. Okay, so with all of that, Stephanie, you know, we're talking about how you can get involved inside of work and how people can show up as their authentic selves at work. I'm curious, for you, how does General Mills promote an inclusive work environment for LGBTQ plus communities?
So I have to say that I'm very proud of this company because not every company is like this, and it starts with the leaders, right? The leaders of this company are invested of making sure that we have an inclusive environment at work, and we have seen that, especially in supply chain. We continuously educate our leaders, our allies, our members on inclusion. For me, it's very important because you don't feel like a stranger on your skin, and there's nothing better than feeling that you can be your authentic self at work. So allies wanting to participate and learn about the community shows that they believe in having an inclusive work environment. We have grown so much in Betty's family within the company, and our leaders, not only at the level that Lee is, right? They have shown even in the plants itself, and I'm talking about my experience in supply chain. I've come from 2 different plants where I can be my authentic self from the beginning and not feel like a stranger, not feel like someone's gonna look at me differently because I am an LGBTQ member. I have had support from my managers and allies. And everybody, as they're growing, they are promoting to making sure that our work environment is safe. And allies have shown that authentically. So events like this, events like National Coming Out Day, gathering more allies have helped the community feel safer and be their authentic self. And we have seen that growth through the years. And that has been one of the proudest things that this company has given me. And being a leader with Paige leading supply chain and an amazing team. Lizzie, I've been part of what Pride was. So being with other leaders from other communities, other plans, Minneapolis, right? ITQ, it's inspiring. So we promote it in many different ways, and it has shown.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you're touching on, of an inclusive work environment is the environment. We've talked about that a lot, of how we show up and how we advocate, but it's also about relationships and the one-on-one connections that you make with people and how you build that so you feel like you can be your authentic self, just like you said. So Kaylee, that brings me to a question for you. Speaking about relationships and how you build that for yourself, how has Betty's Family expanded your professional and your social network?
Yeah, I mean, Betty's Family has done so much for me. I've been involved in like many different capacities, but I'd say in a few ways, meeting people, mentors, volunteering, and then celebrities. I'll end with that one. So from like meeting people, I've just been able to meet so many different people that I wouldn't normally get to work with in my day-to-day job. A lot of times at companies, it's kind of like, okay, you have your day job and then maybe your gay job, which is your involvement in your LGBTQ plus group. For me, that's become one and the same, which has been awesome. But I've been able to meet people across supply chain, at our plants, in our sales offices that normally in my role as marketing, I wouldn't get to work with. I've been able to have such amazing mentors and then form mentee relationships as well. So Lee's actually someone who has connected me with one of my mentors, who's the chief strategy officer at Target, she's out an amazing lesbian there who has just mentored me professionally. And that has just been because of Betty's Family and my role in getting to know Lee. We also have connection circles that many people have brought up and just been able to meet so many people that way. And then from a volunteering standpoint, I'm actually involved within Twin Cities, our Pride Board of Directors. And this was actually a connection that was made because of General Mills and our involvement with Pride. They were looking to have someone from General Mills serve on the board. So I've actually been able to kind of take everything that I do at General Mills and bring that to the broader community here in Minnesota, which has been really awesome. And then I teased everyone by saying celebrities. And so I'll hit on that. We bring really awesome speakers to General Mills. So Ellen DeGeneres was able to meet her because of Betty's Family. She was able to meet a group of our LGBTQ plus employees. We had Megan Rapinoe and Abby Wambach come as well. And so I was able to actually be on a panel and speak with them, just like I'm speaking with Lizzie and Devin on this panel today. So anyways, it's pretty cool. You get to meet a lot of awesome people at General Mills. And so I'd say I'm super lucky to be involved in this network, and it's opened a ton of doors. And yeah, Lee dropped in the photo proof is that's proof.
I couldn't resist. I was like, I'm the only one that has that photo between me and Kaylee, so I had to do that.
Work at General Mills, get to meet Ellen DeGeneres. Kidding.
Oh my gosh, I love that picture. Wow, that's incredible. So fun. And I love that. Yeah, there's just so many different ways that you've expanded your, again, professional and social network, and that can look like a lot of different things. And so I do want to mention, you mentioned you're in Minneapolis area, which means that like you're in person in our world headquarters. But like we've talked about, we have employees all around the world, which brings me to Devin in Washington as a remote employee. And so Devin, I'm coming to you as a remote employee, and for me personally, being in the Chicagoland area, but want to hear from you. How do you feel and stay connected with your team, the company culture, Betty's Family, while you're not physically close to all of those things?
Yeah, so a peek behind the curtain for everyone. There's Gabby and I have like regular connects. It's very funny to be asked this question from her on a call. But outside of my individual connects with Gabby, and I think the title of that meeting is "It's important to spend time with your friends." But The regular connection points that we have with Betty's Family Network are, we have quarterly Betty's Family Town Halls. I'm in a connection circle, so I have like a monthly connect with the same group of people. And then I, as much as possible, I try to get regular like one-on-one calls with people who are part of Betty's family and who like, it's so clear that I can be my truest self around them, and that there's space in our calendars to make time for it. And then, I mean, all of that's super important. I also think about like the difference between what I have locally and while I have such a meaningful queer family in my community and rural conservative Central Washington. It means so much to have these regular connection points with coworkers who create space to share difficult concerns, who listen without expecting a resolution to the conversation or to the questions that I'm asking, and who approach our conversations and queerness with like so much empathy and curiosity. 2 years ago, I came out to my work team, and then came out on a National Coming Out Day panel with General Mills. And I would say throughout both experiences and after, the support was clear. It was resounding, and it was so much stronger than I had expected. So for me, being a remote employee, being part of Betty's family, it doesn't feel like I'm missing out by not being in the Twin Cities, aside from the really cool like Pride parade that I don't get to, I'm not able to prioritize every year because I spend it here celebrating with my local community instead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to mention all of those connections. And some of them, you know, we offer for Betty's family, but also like you have to put the effort in too. And so what that effort looks like, just like on a personal level, but like Devin put those like connection points on my calendar, and it's important to spend time with your friends. And I look forward to that connection point all of the time, as well as the many people who are on this panel as well. And so that just speaks to the environment and the openness that people have to just be yourself. We don't have to talk about work. We don't have to talk about anything, or we can talk about everything. However you want to show up, that's the way we can show up. So speaking of Omar, last but definitely not least, talking about your authentic self and feeling like you can show up in any way that you want to, what has been your experience in feeling like you can bring your authentic self to work every single day?
Well, for me personally, it's definitely been a journey, and it's been messy for multiple reasons, right? So I'm Hispanic and queer, among different other identities. When I joined the company about 7 years ago, I immediately joined our Latina ERG group, since that was my comfort zone. I did not then feel safe joining Betty's family because I was afraid I would be outing myself. Um, Part of my journey towards authenticity was through the Latina, my Latina and Puerto Rican identity. It took me a while for me to understand at work, like how cultural differences play a role in performance and evaluation. And thankfully, I found myself a great mentor through the Latina ERG that helped me understand those differences, right? How to advocate for myself and adapt when needed. Another part of that journey towards authenticity for me was through my queer identity and Betty's Family Network. That first year that I joined, I remember stumbling upon National Coming Out Day by accident. There was a panel being hosted by Betty's at the time. And yeah, I remember being afraid to walk in the room because, again, I would out myself. So I mustered up the courage to walk in and join the event in person. And just the open and vulnerable space that was created by the people, the panel, right, employees from General Mills, the courage that they showed in talking about their own coming out stories at work, kind of was a little bit of a catalyst for me to start working on my own coming out journey at work. So 5+ years later, I actually ended up being a part of the panel myself, and I was able to come out to my friends and my family. So during that transition, coming out journey at work, right? Like I felt like my identity felt a little split. In the Latina ERG, I did not feel safe to be out and proud. In Betty's family, I was becoming comfortable being out and proud, but I did not find that much common ground or experiences with my Puerto Rican upbringing. So it took a lot of work and vulnerable conversations for me to bridge that identity gap and being able to feel like I could bring my whole self to work in all spaces that I showed up in. So all of that work to say that intersectionality does matter, and us as different ERG groups within the company are starting to talk more about it, which is very important. So again, this whole journey has been super messy for me, but like really important. Being more authentic to me at work means that I show up with more energy, and you know, and I'm more engaged at work because I don't have to think as much like, oh, if I dress this way, am I gonna come out to people, right? Like I'm thankful to be in a space that I don't no longer spend energy thinking about those things. So, and my journey, and I think everyone's journey, you know, everyone is for everyone to take and engage on their own, right? But I felt like the ERGs, Betty's family being one of them, helped me greatly in being able to get the courage to be able to take it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and thank you for your honesty. And you're right, it's not always easy. It's not going to be easy to enter this journey of coming out and sharing who you really are, and it's a process. And who you decide to come out to any part of your identity, but especially being a part of the LGBTQ plus community, deciding to tell anyone is a specific and very unique experience for every single person, for as the individual who is coming out, but for the people that you're coming out to. And so thank you for just, sharing that, because I want to make sure that that's heard loud and clear. It's not going to be easy, but here at General Mills, and I'm glad this was your experience, it can be easier when you know that there are people around you who are here to support you, and they are going through similar experiences as you and can build you up in that way too. Intersectionality has a huge part of how that comes to life as well. And so being a part of, personally, 4 of our employee network groups out of the 7 as an identifying member, it's been a journey to understand how they all come together and still feel authentic to myself with all of those things combined. So all of that to say is thank you for sharing, and it's definitely a journey, and thank you for being on the journey with us at General Mills. So all of that, thank you all for sharing. I have one last question for all of you, and it's going to be a spin around. And that question is, again, in one sentence, which I know is tricky, but you did a great job the first go around. What is your favorite part of Betty's family? I know we talked about it a lot. There's probably many things that you can shove into that one sentence, but one sentence, what is your favorite part of Betty's family? Omar, coming right back to you.
I am embarrassed to say that I got suddenly distracted. Can you repeat that question, please?
Okay, I realized that, ping pong back and forth was not very kind, but yes, I will repeat the question all day long for you. What is your favorite part of Betty's family?
Favorite part of Betty's family, I would say community, right? As I was speaking about my own coming out journey, I was I'm very grateful to have found the people that I did at the moment of my life that I did, and find a great source of support in my coming out journey, and afterwards in being able to celebrate it out and proud.
Amazing. Paige.
I would say Betty's family to me is it's a big sense of pride to work for an organization that invests in everyone living their true and authentic self. The first time that I had gone to Minneapolis for our leadership day and had realized, hey, I'm spending money to get me here and to develop me for being me, like that hit me pretty hard. And so I'd say I'm just really proud to work for this company.
Yeah, absolutely. Lizzie.
I would say probably the networking opportunity that comes with it, of the amount of people that you get to meet that you probably wouldn't come across. And from like a professional development standpoint, I'm interested in brand, and I would have probably never met Kaylee if it weren't for Betty's family. So I think from that standpoint of educating yourself on like your career development, from that standpoint, the options are endless from Betty's.
Great. Stephanie.
So besides giving me the ability to champion belonging and inclusion, I would say the ability to elevate, educate, and grow allyship in supply chain.
Well said. Great. Devin.
Super related to what Stephanie just said. I started in supply chain as well. Betty's family feels like anti-code switching. Like every conversation, we can talk using exactly the language that is truest to us, and that feels so lovely.
Awesome. And Kaylee.
I think I'll go with the easy one. I think it's in the name. It's family. I think we're all a chosen family, and you can be vulnerable. People have your back. And I think you just feel the safety and security from the company and all the people. So I'd say it's the fam and family.
I love that. I love that. And I'm just going to snake one sentence in for myself, even though no one asked me. But my favorite part of Betty's family are the connections and the relationships that you build. And through the relationships, the empowerment that I have personally felt to just be myself every single day. So everyone on the panel, thank you for being a part of that for me. And thank you for all of what you shared today. It's really important to paint the picture of what Betty's family and General Mills looks like. So thank you again for your participation, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon, and people will be reaching out to you shortly. So that wraps up our panel. We're going to close out for today, and so I'm going to hand it off to my friend Zach to tell you on how you can join the General Mills family.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabby. And thank you, Lee and panelists, for some awesome conversations today. I've just absolutely been loving listening in. Hi, everyone. My name is Zach Diedrich. I work in campus recruiting here at General Mills. And I am also a proud member of the Betty's Family Network and the LGBTQ+ community. So I'm going to talk, I have a minute and a half with you, so I'm going to go quick. About what's next. If you're hungry for what's next, if you loved what you heard today and you really could picture yourself at General Mills, how do you get there? So two different avenues for that, all through our main careers website at careers.generalmills.com. That's where you'll find every job posting. If you're early, mid, late career, this is your one-stop shop to learn all things careers, as well as to apply for open roles. You can join our talent community there, and you can also sign up for job alerts for when roles in the functional areas you're interested come on. We post new roles almost every single day. Another way is to stay connected with us on LinkedIn. I think some of our panelists might be dropping their LinkedIn links in the chat, or feel free to search them and send them a connect request. And then the last is, if you are a student pursuing an undergraduate or advanced degree, we have several full-time and internship opportunities available for you. So if you're a winter 2024 or spring 2025 grad, we'd be looking at you for an internship. And if you're a winter 2023 or spring 2024 grad, we'd be looking at you for full-time. So all of these roles that I have listed here are open for applications. Along listed with that are the typical majors that we see for each of those roles. If you loved what you heard today, you're interested in an internship with us, I would encourage you to not walk, but to run straight to that application. We're in the heart of our busy campus recruiting season, and our recruiters are actively reviewing resumes every single day, and interviews are actively happening. So this is the perfect opportunity to get your interview in. So that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to toss it back over to Gabby to wrap us up.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for attending, taking precious time out of your schedules to learn about General Mills and Betty's family, and hope that this was super informative, exciting to you. We will be following up with some extra resources, including the recording to this video, just so you can have it for yourselves. But thank you again so much, and we hope